does she have a renewed like brain to be able to do this after being buried alive?
Yes,
and
the
I don't
shovel.
know, like
the shovel to the
the
head.
shovel to the head.
Reprogrammed her so she became like X-Men style, like she became a mutant. Hi, this is Juniper.
Hi, this is Elle.
So, Elle, we said, I think a while back that we would come back to this. So a while back we did a episode on a drama that you and I were both watching at the time. It was still being broadcast, called The Double, a Chinese drama.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we have now both finished. I'm a bit more ahead of you, but since we both finished, we're coming back to make good on our promise, which is to talk about the show at length. Okay, maybe not at length, but now that we all know how ourselves, right? Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard. So, where do we want to start? I mean, I think I know where I want to start, but I want to hear what you think.
I want to start with the ending because I just finished it.
Yes.
Yes. And we'll assume that people who are listening have either watched it or okay with spoilers, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers.
We are never spoiler free. I guess we should just say that, but
we should be clear. Yeah. Oh. So, okay, so the ending. So
did you like the ending?
So, okay, I liked the ending at the end of episode 40, which is the original ending. And then they filmed an epilogue, like a 5-minute epilogue, which they're calling episode 40.5 or something. I did not like the epilogue. I didn't hate it. I was like, why? I was like, why does this epilogue exist? So I texted you. I was like, this epilogue is so weird. It's like the feel and the acting is so different. It feels like a different director.
You did text me that, but I'm very surprised that you didn't like the epilogue. Not because it's you, but I love the epilogue. And here's why. I did not love the original ending. Now, if there was no epilogue, I have been like, oh my God, it tanked the show. No, I think the show was strong from beginning to end. It never tanked. You know how a lot of Chinese dramas, they don't deliver on
the ending is like complete,
I would say the show
disappointment.
Stuck its landing, right? Would you agree? It stuck its landing.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so according to you, I didn't know about all the internet drama in China, but apparently different people perceive the original ending differently. So when I watched it, he's riding his horse, he's looking magnificent in red, and
you don't see him though.
But he's on the horse.
See him. You see the red. Yes, it's him. I get what you're saying. So I read it that way too, that it was meant to be a happy ending, right? They talk about
he went home because they even show he was wearing the
pendant,
that pendant
she gave him.
He picked it up and it was clean again, right? It was like during war, it was all bloody, and then they show him with it clean. So you're assuming war is over, and he's getting ready to go home, and she's waiting for him. And it's been a long time because that tree grew a lot. I mean, this is probably years later.
That tree did grow a lot. Well,
right?
So I think I read it as happy ending because the trees, they kept playing the voiceover of when that tree blooms, right? The berries come to bloom is when the time I'll come back. I think that he said to her when they planted the tree, and then you see the image of him, supposedly him coming from the horizon and her at the tree, and you can see her from the far shot, right, of them. That she's she's standing there and he's riding towards her. I think what makes it a little bit not quite the complete happy ending I wanted, if that was the actual ending, and I think that's what most people who thought it was an ambiguous ending or even a unhappy or bad ending thought was that, because Chinese drama does a lot of this open endings where it's so ambiguous because you're like, did she just imagine it? Because they don't show him. And remember, right before
they don't show him getting to her.
Right. How did he survive the battle? Right? Because he was the only one left on the battleground. You know that, right? And there was more enemy soldiers coming. And he was holding on to that scene actually was the one that made me think, like, doubt myself about the happy ending, because it was very sexy. It was like the sexiest scene ever, right? Where he had the jade pendant in his mouth because he didn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And he knew it was going to be like one of those fight to the death sort of ordeals, right? And he looked skyward. And I was like, that doesn't, you can interpret that look as a determined man or a man who is thinking about his wife, like his love, while he's getting ready for potentially the last battle of his life. And there's like a determination in that look, but you can also say there's like kind of like a forlornness in his look. Does that make sense? That's why it made the ending a little bit and they never show you him and her together in the same frame. And you know Chinese dramas do this. It could be a figment of her imagination. So that's one argument I've read. Another argument is that she's in all red, right? Running through the house and then at the tree. If you recall, his mom died wearing all red. That's why he wears red. He has a fixation with red. And his mom,
I remember that.
So I didn't understand why his mom died. They never explained that, but I think what people are saying is that she died after his dad died because she died of a broken heart, and she basically like killed herself to be with the dad.
Oh, I see.
So that's why she was wearing, red and stuff. So they're like, oh, Jelly's wearing red at the tree because she's never going to see her husband again. It's been many years. He's definitely dead in battle, and now she's just there to kind of follow him in death. Does that make sense?
Oh, like she was about to like go join him?
Yes.
Like,
and the way the last shot was such a weird shot, if you think about it. They pan in on her and she turns around, and the look in her face wasn't like, oh, a smile about to, pop up, right? Like, I think I texted you, I said, oh, by comparison, the ending of The Untamed, which was very, annoying in some ways too, because they didn't show the two guys reuniting after they, bid each other farewell. All you heard was the main guy, he's playing his flute on the edge of a cliff, and he hears his name being called very gently by his, bromance partner, right? He turns around and he smiles. That's it. You never see the other guy.
Oh, you don't get confirmation.
No. But people are okay with that. It's an implied truly happy ending. This is not that, okay? That's why I was like, oh, if it ended here, there was no epilogue. It's a very like you're really trying to twist my gut a little bit here, right? Like, it could go any way. Does that make sense? And it feels unfinished.
So I don't have issue. Okay, so I will say that I usually am. I'm not against ambiguous endings. Like, it depends on the drama. I think it depends on the style of the drama.
Yes.
And I grew up on like Wong Kar-wai movies where it's always ambiguous. Yeah, right.
But this was not that kind of a show.
No, this is not. But like tonally, if you think of the director, right? I don't know who this director is. I need to probably look him up. But tonally, the entire show has been done in a very like film cinematic way, and I feel like for me, it was very clear he was going home. It didn't matter to me what her facial expression was going to be. Like, to me, because I think I also mentioned, like, the people who survived, everything was tied in a pretty bow. Like, everyone, it was almost like happy, right? Happy ending, if you want to call it that, despite all the casualties, because her secret, it's kind of interesting that, I mentioned this in the last time we talked about, like, her secret where her identity would be revealed and how it would, devastate a lot of people who believe her to be Zhang Li. But then it like, who, I think it's the scriptwriter, because I think in the novel is different because she actually has a rebirth. It looks like is Zhang Li's body, right? But here she's a different person entirely. I feel like the way they wrote it is very smart. Like, the people who need it to know, and they're not going to they're not going to out her. And then the people who don't need to know believe who she is and love her for who she is. And so nobody's stuck in this like, oh, what to do with her. So anyways, my point is like when you see the ending, for me, it was like, okay, personally, the battle, the whole battle sequence, as sexy as it was, like it did feel a little too extended, because I felt like everything that happened at the palace should have been the climax, but then they had to send them off to war, right? A lot of
people felt like it would have been much more neater and tonally coherent ending after the rebellion was put down and they just wrapped everything neat, right? And then they get married. That would have been the perfect ending. and it would have been 100%, 120% in line with the tone of the show up till then.
I do agree.
That's why I think that's why people were like uneasy with the way they ended, because in the last 10 minutes they killed off two very lovable characters, his two bodyguards.
Yeah, and all the lovable sidekicks had to die.
Right, which made no sense, right? Like I even joked to someone else at the time when I saw this. I was like, if they just cut the show 10 minutes shorter, they would have survived. Like, it was unnecessary death, right?
Yeah.
Like, and what's the point other than the director or somebody wanted to make a point about, like, it suddenly, to me, actually, that's why I said it felt like it suddenly shifted tone a little bit. Like someone went haywire, mainly the director probably, and decided, I now want this to be somewhat of a tragic ending, potentially, or like at least melancholy ending. Whereas in the last 10, I really liked the way the show was trending the last 10 episodes, because it got more and more faster paced because they were wrapping things up. And there was more humor. And it was a good kind of humor. And there was more romance.
Like when he was quote unquote flying and she says, "You came here by flying."
Well, a lot of that, or like when he
that was weird. It was weird when she said it. I was like, oh, it's kind of wallish.
Well, they were making a lot of jokes about that. Like, they made fun of their own show, like the script writing. I don't know if you caught that. There was an episode where she's like talking to her cousin, the one who has turtles, the funny cousin, not the one who likes her, and trying to bribe him. And I think she says something like, "Oh, don't you like I need you to do something?" He's like, "Oh, I totally see through you. I know you like a script or something." She's like, "Oh," but he's like, "But you write awful scripts. Like your stories suck, but somehow you manage to make people want to keep watching."
I do remember that.
And I was like, are they making fun of their own show? Like, it's a very knowing wink wink in the dialogue. But we were digressing, right? So let's go back to wrap up the ending part. Okay, that's why I think people...
Okay. So no, I was gonna say the reason. Okay, I might need to rewatch the epilogue again. I only watched it everything I watched is one time. I didn't go back and rewatch it. So as soon as the epilogue began, I was like, "What is this?" Like, it did not feel right, and immediately it felt like a.
Well, what did not feel right? Because
I don't know. I don't know if it was like
it was fan service. You know that, right? It was fan service. I know,
and it felt like it. That's the problem. It did not feel.
But it was. You didn't like the fan service?
I don't know I don't know why. I think because I watched it right after it ended. Like I binged like 3 to 5 episodes straight of this like this glory ending, right? Like glory war, like mind games galore, right? And then you get to this and it's like, oh, like now they're like hubbies and wifeys, but it's weird. It's a weird vibe. Like I felt like they were not in character. Like I felt like they were just like
they were jokier. But
yeah.
But would you say they were trending towards that dynamic even in the last 10 episodes? Like, Su Guogong he almost regressed as a person.
Oh yeah, the whole scene where he was like smiling like an idiot to himself.
He became like more and more boyish, right? Like he was like a very boyish guy by the end, until of course the battlefield. And then you're like, but that's why I thought that tonally I actually liked it. If you didn't like that, then great. You want the ending to be a dramatic, like the way they did it. I felt that the ending was a little bit too open-ended, up to interpretation. And the producer Yu-jin actually went on Weibo and said, "Oh, we had disagreements between me and the director. He wanted to go sad. I did not. So we compromised." And he like went and cut it into an open ending, which was like ridiculous. And then Yu-jin was like, and then I thought about it. And I guess Yuku reached out to the actor who plays Su Guogong, Wang Xingyue, right? And Wang Xingyue reached out to Yu-jin because he works for him, right? Like he's his management company boss, and was like, "Hey, they want me to I think do a side commentary on the finale day." And I think it's implying that Yuku's a little bit worried about the ending, the way it was cut. Right, yeah. Like that audiences love the show so much. It's such a hit right now that if you deliver the ending as is, people will be up in arms, and people are like, "Yeah, Yujin basically got scared out of his pants and didn't want to get shot, so he went and got it." Yujin's whole explanation that he wrote on his post was, so I thought about it and I realized that there are a lot of people who would interpret this as maybe not a happy ending, even though we intended to be a happy ending. And the book originally had a happy ending. He was gone for a year, like missing. Everyone thought he was dead. This is what I understood. I didn't read it. Everyone who's read the book said this. But she believed he was still alive. So she waited. She never remarried. She had faith in him coming back. And if he didn't come back, she wasn't going to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it was a test the emperor put him up to, and he came back after a whole year, and that's when they. So the epilogue actually fits that if you think about it. Like he came back and they had a very happy, normal life. So, anyways, I digress. So Yushin was like, I felt that people who are pessimistic in their life view are more likely to emphasize and dwell on the negative and insist on the negative as the interpretation of the ending versus people who are much more happy-go-lucky who will read this as a happy ending. And isn't that true? Isn't that you and me? I mean, we kind of had the same exchange just now.
Yeah, I thought it was a happy ending. I was like, what is the drama? The drama behind the drama.
The minute I have a hint that this may not be a happy ending, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No. Okay, honestly, if the director got his way and really made it tragic, then then I would have been really upset because I really did enjoy the overall production of this, despite even some of loopholes,
would I hate the show if it had a unhappy ending? No, I think it still would have been, because the way they did it was still very nice, right? They're very dramatic. Yeah. I just felt like what a letdown, given that the rest of the show was such a happy payoff for everything that was wrong. Like it was a happy, fun show to watch because. Yeah, good always triumph. Not always, but if you like you said, you survive, you got a happy, neatly wrapped up bonbon as your reward.
So if you if you look at the whole flow of the show, right? Like the first, if I want to break it apart into two sections of the show, like for the female lead, the first half was really her getting revenge for Zhang Li. Right, that was her. Yeah, that was her goal, and also it was all she had access to. Right, she was living in this family, so she needed to fix that. Once she was able to travel outside of the home and do more stuff, and after finding her father, then the story shifted to her wanting revenge for herself. Right. So actually, I would argue the story is in three sections. So first two sections. First section, Zhang Li getting her revenge. Second section, Shu Fangfei getting her revenge. And then the third section is Duke Su getting his revenge.
Yes, I agree with that. And then wrapping up the whole how all the plot points come together. Like everyone is interconnected.
Yes. So and I did like and it's probably kudos to the original novelist, right, for setting it up. I assume it followed closely to the book and setting up how it does start for you think it's a family drama, but it's really political things trickling down that affected them at the family or personal level, right? But it's like a much bigger picture that like a normal housewife would never have had access or privy to. I would say if you go back to like. We're talking about the ending, like the epilogue to me still felt a little, I guess, out of step with the tone. But I understand if people are like, I hated the original ending and I need satisfaction. I mean, and this is not a Xianxia where we know like they can come back to life, 3 lives later. Then you do need to do something. But I mean, I would argue the epilogue I prefer more is Goodbye My Princess, where Xingxu and what's her name? The girl. They did the modern. Remember they did the modern, and it was like different
their third lifetime or second lifetime, because there was a monk in the show proper that says you're destined to kind of be intertwined romantically, and it's not always good, but may your future or something be happy, and they were. So that was but I think I heard that for Goodbye My Princess they had to do that. The director did it. Because they were like, people were so unhappy after, they were so depressed. And it was a very depressing ending, right? If you were very emotionally invested. I mean, we weren't emotionally invested, but we were emotionally invested in that show. And we could feel the trauma for him, not just for her, like not his audience, but this is not that kind of show. So I get that. I do have to wonder, my original thought when I first saw, because I finished watching the show way before you, right?
Yeah.
Was... Did they, because I even paid the special extra money to, watch on demand ahead. I was like, take my money. I already have like VIP with Youku, but I paid the extra. I didn't mind because I was like, you know what? You deserve my money for this. I want you to show more shows like this in the future, even if you didn't stick the landing. But anyways, I digress. I paid and I watched it. And the day of, I thought, thank God for the epilogue. it cleansed the palate from the iffiness of the open-ish ending.
Mm-hmm.
Or not, even if it was a happy ending, because I like you, I thought, well, they're talking about him coming back, but the music was a little bit too dramatic, not happy-go-lucky. Her last expression was kind of, what is going on? Like, a little bit, you know what I mean? And the fact that he was in that battle situation that seemed like impossible to survive.
Yeah.
So that helped, but I had to wonder at the time when I watched it, I was like, well, did they cut stuff from the original endings because they knew they made an epilogue too? Does that make sense?
Wait, do you think it aired? I thought, didn't the epilogue film really late?
Yes,
Like,
but they aired
so-
the ending and the epilogue on the same day. You had access to both. So I don't know how much they have how much you can do last minute edits, because obviously everything goes through censorship review, right?
Right.
But what if they had a longer version of the ending episode? Now, is it possible they didn't? Probably, because the episode was already like 55 minutes long. So I don't see it being much longer. But what if they cut 2 minutes of it at the end? Because there's behind the scenes footage of a longer battle scene. Someone said that there were scenes of him hiding out in the mountains, meaning he had been injured but survived the battle. I don't know if that's true. I've seen that multiple places, though. I would like to see footage of that if that's true. Yeah. And then there's definitely BTS I've seen of them, she in the red robe she wears at the end, and he in his robes. Now, it could be the version of him that's a figment of her imagination, right? Because there was that whole imaginary part before he comes back.
Yeah, when she was
it could be
her
just
hair.
that. Right. It could also be that they were reunited, meaning he came back because it was snowing.
Right. Yeah.
And if that was the original ending and they just cut it because they were like, we want people to pay money for a satisfactory epilogue that we already filmed, then I would have been very much curious as to what the original ending was. Like, that probably would have been much more neatly wrapped up bonbon. Right? Yeah. Like, we don't know after the fact how much is true, how much is what was actually manipulated. Like, they did that with Word of Honor, too. There was speculation that, remember Word of Honor ended, like, on a really random point?
That was worse. That was a lot worse.
But it was, I think, because they had to cut it there, and then you can pay, they wanted you to pay for the Easter egg.
Yeah. Okay, so I would say if they filmed, I'm talking about the double, if they filmed where it's snowing and they're together, I would say that's a happy ending that they chose to make ambiguous, because so I was curious about the tree that they talked about. I was like, what's a winter sweet tree? And I googled it, and it's a tree that blooms only in the wintertime, like from November to March or something. So I had never heard of this tree. So like the fact that they film them together when it's blooming and it's snowing tells me it's not like imaginary. It looks imaginary, right? You would think, oh, that must be fake because no flowers would bloom in winter, but it's an existing real tree that does do that. So I would say whoever filmed it or the editing or whoever,
the director. According to the editor is known for, I think, his love of tragic endings and open endings. We're like, please.
Don't touch.
Yeah, like netizens complain all the time about how Chinese directors and writers like to go for that type of artistic ending. We're like, but you don't know what you're doing, so stop it. And that's just not what audiences stick with you for 40 episodes to watch, right?
Right. Yeah.
With Goodbye My Princess is acceptable because it's that kind of show. In fact, I think the tragic ending served it very well.
It needed that, actually.
Right. If they were a happy-go-lucky ending, I would be like, this is a different show from what I imagined.
Because that one, the relationship is very fraught. And this one, that's not the issue here. They actually got along from the beginning. There was never mistrust. So you just want them to finally be able to be together.
Yeah. So I think we just spent a long time talking about the ending, but that was the most important thing I wanted to get off my chest, and I think you wanted to get off your chest, and we agree, right? Like, it's a happy ending. I mean, the producer came out and says so. Like, he's like, never will I mean, I don't know if he'll hold himself to that promise, but he's like, I'm never, filming another ambiguous ending again. We need more definitive happy endings, because he's been known to do that, I think, with Sense of Time and another show with Wang Xingyue in it. And people are like, what is this? You need, like, so I think he's like, people are too pessimistic and prone to take everything as pessimism. I'm like, please hold yourself to that, because I don't need it if you don't have to do it. Yeah. And this show is definitely happy ending.
The only thing is, did they say it was 8 years later or something in the epilogue? Is that supposed to be 8 years later?
No, he said that. Oh, no. He said that in the epilogue. by the way, I want to mention that I just realized. I'll come back to this. He said they've been married for 8 years. That's why they have a daughter. And then I saw comments were like, "Wait, you only have one daughter after 8 years? Like, shouldn't you have more kids?" But I do wonder though, does the 8 years, right? Doesn't it count the time he was away? Because he got married to her before he went away, and I don't think he was only away for a year. He's probably away for like
longer.
2-3 years, maybe 2 years. Actually, 2 years I would buy. 1 year that tree would not grow that fast.
Look,
2 years I could see.
Mulan was gone for 12 years. So
yeah,
to fight.
He's not Mulan, but he's back. They had a daughter, a very cute kid, and you know, so I'm happy with the ending and the epilogue as a combo. You shouldn't even say, oh, you know, why would you think that it's not a happy ending because he was trapped in an impossible situation? Come on, she survived being, you know, buried alive. It's that kind of show. I was like, okay, fair point, but could we just make it definitive? And so he did. Yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of Yu-jun's, especially before this show, because he always says like really brash things. Like he's like a loudmouth.
I don't know his other shows. I might have seen them in that. No.
But he's very like brash, but I appreciate the show that he produced. I appreciate that he discovered Wang Xingyue and cast him in this. I mean, he cast him in other things, right? Like he signed him onto his firm.
Well, he cast him despite the age difference, is what you said, right?
Well, despite his own misgivings initially.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we got to see this show and it stuck its landing. Despite some wonkiness with the episode 40 that we just talked about. So really happy. So now we can move on. Oh, my rating. It's
you want to rate it before we get into the other things, or you want to rate it after?
Sure. Let's rate it and then move on, because I don't think we need to explain the rating. I think it speaks for itself. It's definitely a 9+. 9 out of 10+. Not a 10-10, because it's not a perfect drama by any means. And like I said, the ending could have been better, especially if it didn't have the epilogue, but definitely 9 in the realm of traditional costume C-dramas.
Yeah. I would give it like a 9.3. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
argue with that.
Yeah. I would rewatch it. I would rewatch it.
Oh, totally.
I'm gonna watch it on Netflix because it's coming out.
Yes, I'm so happy to see it on Netflix. Some shows I'm like, oh, it's on Netflix. That means it's doing really well, right? Like, you're happy for that show that it's doing so well. I think it deserves the exposure.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this. I didn't say it to you, but like, you know how like we've spent many of our previous podcasts saying that Chen Xingxu has not gotten that definitive role that can propel him worldwide, and then here we are talking about Wang Xingyue. I might be saying something wrong. Like he's very young. He's 22, right? And then like I feel like this is like he's gonna gain international. If he hasn't already, he's gonna be internationally famous from this one in the world of C-dramas. And it's
I did notice though that Chen Xingxu is. Didn't I say last time that on our first podcast about the devil that Wang Xingyue reminds me of like another Chen Xingxu. Not because they're very similar, but because they both went to Central Academy of Drama. So I think they got the acting chops. Wang Xingyue is not the same caliber of actor, I think, as Chen Xingxu. Chen Xingxu is like an actor's actor, kind of, almost. They look very different, but they're both very good looking. But in the weird way, in that, like I've seen other shows of now, I'm like watching other shows of Wang Xingyue or watching. He has a lot of stuff out there, by the way, for such a young guy.
I was really surprised. Yeah.
So he doesn't look as good. So they did a good job making him look good in this one. But I would say the same thing with Chen Xingxu, right? Chen Xingxu they don't always hit the ball out of the park with his looks, but his acting is what gets you. And Wang Xingyue's acting is what gets me. I mean, the makeup, eyeliner, definitely in the red.
They made the joke about eyeliner. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it fan service in the epilogue. I told you.
Yeah.
His voice though is like he's got a very nice voice, like to the point where I think people didn't know it was his voice. Like, because it sounds dubbed.
Thought he was dubbed.
Right, but he dubbed
himself.
Yeah, it's his own voice.
Yeah.
A 22-year-old with a voice like that. Chen Xingxu has a very unique voice too, right? But it's not a dubber's voice. It's like a deep voice, that's this kind of bass baritone. He has meaning Wang Xingyue has very interesting eyes. He has very expressive eyes.
Yes, I love his I love his eyes.
And-
he acts with his eyes.
Yeah, and you noticed last time that there was a lot of close-up shots, which, by the way, a lot of people complain about in China. They're like, "Oh, what's wrong with Yu Zhen and his shooting giant head? I don't need to see giant face." I'm like,
They
you guys
were
missed
very
the
giant.
point.
I liked it.
Yeah,
It was
it works.
it works
Intimate.
for this type. Yes. Yes.
It's very intimate.
And you know, and if you think about this show, it has a lot of characters in it. There's actually a lot of characters in it. It's not just like the same 5 people, right? There's like a whole universe of people.
And they do all a very good job.
They're all very good. They're all distinct. They're not, you don't confuse one with the other. Even the 2 sidekicks he has have very distinct personalities. And I actually I wanted to talk about this. So like I don't know how we're going away from what we were talking about, but the one thing I noticed near the last 1/3 of the drama, right, which is when they start heading into his revenge situation, they start revealing all of the villains' origin stories, like via flashbacks.
Did you find that interesting? I do want to talk about the villains. So maybe we transition to that, right? We talked about Wang Xingyue, and we will keep our eyes on him. In fact, I started watching his other dramas, and maybe we can find time next time to talk about some of those if you ever catch up, because he's definitely someone I want to keep my eye on, and I think you do too.
Same here.
You know, villains.
But, okay,
so
yes,
they're whitewashing the villains in some ways.
Okay, so I thought, when they did the first flashback for one of the villains, I don't remember which one. It might have been the stepmom. I think she was the first one, but I could be wrong. I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's good to know. And then they started doing the same for the other villains. They did it for the princess. They did it for there was definitely a couple of other ones. They start showing how the Lord Cheng, the one that's the brother, the emperor's brother. They show his origin story. They showed basically all the villains, all the key villains. They start showing the origin story, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that in a drama where you get such clear indicators of their perspectives and their justifications for their actions. Like it makes them more
3-dimensional.
Yes. It's not. It was short, but it wasn't rushed. It was definitely like they took the time to show you the key scene of who they, like how like basically people failed them, right? Their parents failed them, or some important person failed them in life, and then they just became like, I need to get it back. And they are actually, if you were not in the Xu Fangfei perspective, they have every right to do what they're doing. If you want to put yourself in their shoes,
right? But I know what you're saying. Like, you can see why.
They're more evil. They're willing to sacrifice innocent people. Xu Fangfei is not that type. She will not sacrifice innocent people.
She would. She actually would, actually. I think
not innocent people.
Well, I don't know about that, because if you're part of her plan, you are part of her plan.
But she wouldn't get you killed, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't know if she's as ruthless, but I think what makes them the villains, the way I read it, is they have sympathetic reasons to become villains, all except one, and we will talk about which one I think that is. And
I think I know which one.
Yeah, maybe we agree on this, because I do want to say, who do you think is actually the worst person in the show, right? The most hateful, right? So let's get there very quickly. But I was going to say, there's actually 2 very hateful people, but one trumps the other by far, because they're much more main character. But most of the villains, you understand why they became that way, and you felt kind of sympathetic towards them, right? But you also acknowledge that they are villains because they had no scruples by the end, and they made really bad choices, and they were sticking to them no matter what. Right? So they didn't care anymore. Or they did, but they were like, screw this, life sucks. The world sucks, and I'm screwed over, so I'm just going to do whatever it needs to survive. It kind of shows, I don't know if the show's that deep, but you can interpret it as trying to be deep if you're like that. And I thought it shows you how easy it is to become a villain, like a bad person in life. Right? It's like a fork in the road. Something went wrong. It's how you face it, how you react to it, and they faced it, they overcame it, but then they came out the other end a villain.
Yeah. Okay. Who are you going to reveal that is the worst?
You want me to go first?
I mean, sure. Yeah, same here. He's the worst.
You and I agree. You would be
Yes.
surprised online, at least on Chinese internet. I've read so many people who sympathize with him a little. And I was like,
He's the worst.
Yeah, I know. People are like, one of our friends, he's like, well, I can see why I'm like, I can see why.
No.
It doesn't condone anything because he had no excuse. He made choices. And then he wanted to play the victim. Like, it's not.
Yes.
And she even said that. Xue Fanfei said that.
She called him out on it.
Yeah, she's like,
yeah,
you just want to blame everyone else for your actions, right? He's always like, I was forced by the princess. I had no choice. No, you had a choice.
Yeah, she said, I would have left you. I would have willingly left and divorced you if you had just told me.
And even the princess is not stupid, right? She has this unfortunate, double whammy of being a crazy psycho bitch, but also falling for a man who doesn't love her. And she knows that in some ways. I mean, she died a broken-hearted woman, basically, over a very odd misunderstanding. But I wonder if
her brother was ready to. Her brother was halfway ready to put her in that position, though. Do you know what I mean?
But he wasn't going to kill her. Remember,
he wasn't going to kill her for real. But
but the ex-husband is rather selfishly ruthless. It's a really lethal. He's a lethal combination of coward, shirking of any responsibilities, right?
Entitlement,
right, and ruthless.
Yeah, because
he's really ruthless.
Yeah, because he even said, even as he's laying there, like after she shot him twice, right, with the arrows.
Thank God that one. Bow and arrow lesson, archery lesson came off well. He's a good teacher. Dukes is a good teacher. Sorry,
he's like, oh, would our life have been different if I wasn't so ambitious and I basically like if I wasn't a smart man and I didn't like put myself up
what
there.
If I did? Well, his whole thing was also like,
but
I was in Dukes' like if I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, then I wouldn't have been like this. I'm like, no, there are plenty of people who were born like you who didn't take your path and become an asshole.
Yeah.
Right?
And he forgets she married him before he was anybody. She
made him into something.
Against her dad's wishes or whatever, right? Like the dad wasn't exactly like 100% approving this. She's like, but I really love him. And she married him and she was perfectly happy to be like a nobody's housewife, right?
Exactly. You know who he reminds me of? I mean, not to get all weird. I like to talk about Shakespeare, not because I'm a huge fan, but it came up because I was having this debate with someone else, the person who said, oh, but you can see why he became like that. I'm like, but it's not excusable. Like, the stepmom, in some ways, is excusable because her dad is such a trash dad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could see why she's a little bit off her rocker, too, like the princess, in some ways, the desperation.
Yeah.
He was never to that degree of desperation. Oh, my mom and my sister over you, okay? Then you made your choice. Then don't pretend you didn't, then own up to your choices, right? He wouldn't.
So the way she died is different from the novel, by the way. I'm going to put that out there. Like, in the Rebirth, in the original novel, basically, they poisoned her very slowly, and she was supposedly pregnant, and then she miscarried, and then nobody visited her for months and months, and then she eventually just passed away. That was the original story. So in this one, they changed it to where he basically, like, hits her with a shovel and buries her alive. So, like, if you want to compare how brutal he is, like, he's worse in the drama because he had to put his hands on her. Anytime you physically have to do something to someone like that, that's cold-blooded. Like, right? It's like the equivalent of saying, do you shoot someone with a gun versus you like stabbing them with a knife? People always say knife is more personal.
It's worse.
Like, that's where you want to go in. Like, it's not this no contact, right? Way of offing someone.
I understand.
Like he was about to bury her alive, right? When she woke up, he like went the extra mile to knock her out or whatever you want to call it. And so like to me, he was brutal from the beginning. Like there was no sugarcoating. Like there's no redemption for him. No amount of him. Like none of that.
He was such a worthless like bag of shit.
Yeah. So for people to forget that's what he did in the first episode, it's like, oh, I feel so sorry for him. No, he did it to himself. I mean, I think people felt sorry for him because the princess was also, she was a horrible psychopathic, like, bully, right? She terrorized him and she was demeaning and condescending. She physically assaulted him. Like she slapped
he
him
left
all the
her,
time.
right? If she ran to someone like Su Gong, she would have no game to play. Does that make sense?
Right.
And she even recognizes that, right? Remember, it was kind of funny at the end. She's like, I could have been friends with you, like Xue Fangfei. She's like, you and I are very alike. And Xue Fangfei is like, no, you crazy bitch. But she also was like, oh, I wish I had someone like Su Gong. Like, look at how I love how he weaponized his love for Zhang Li, by the way, at the end. Did you realize that? He weaponized it. Like, he loved her. He didn't want her to fall into the wrong hands because remember her ex-hubby was trying to maneuver her back into his household?
Yeah.
Like, he tried to get her to get married to him through the emperor. And Duke Su came in and was like, no, I'm going to marry her. Like, I'm the man in line, not you. You had your chance. And he went to the princess, and it was all ruse, right? But that's what I mean when I say it was kind of cool that he weaponized his love in that way.
Yeah.
Right? Killed two birds with one stone. He used it against their enemies, fooled them, because the princess is like what did he say? She's not stupid, but she's like a 恋爱脑, like a love fool. So she goes for that.
Yeah. I mean, I felt bad for her because at the end when she was dying and then the Shen, the ex-husband was like, you're just a pawn, like no one loves you and you'll never be loved. I felt so bad because they showed her origin story, which basically she asked her father,
she was
the
a pawn.
emperor,
she was always
like,
a pawn.
have you ever loved me? And he's like, he didn't answer her even though he's like at his deathbed, and then now that she's dying, I mean, they had a twisted relationship.
She picked unwisely. And
yes.
So I mean, honestly, I love how Xue Fangfei said, I wish you, when he was dying, after she shot him, she's like, I wish you, like, in your next life to be born wealthy and you can be a good man. But I felt like it was a very backhanded, like, wish, because she's basically saying,
you're a horrible person today.
Like, if you screw that up, because that's everything you ever complain about. Like, I was not given a silver spoon. I was, I had everything working against me. Therefore, I became like this. I'm like, to me, that there's knives in that wish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, she also thinks nothing of him, so she didn't even look. Yeah.
The one thing I have to question is, like, how did she marry a man like that? And why are there so many women after him?
Because he was good in the beginning, right? So one of the things he says is that the princess made him into this disgusting, dirty person. Like he became tainted. He became unpure, right? And she even said that to Xue Fangfei. She's like, oh, do you like, now I dragged him into the mud with me. So like, that's like a very like black and white way of seeing a person, right? Like you were good before, and then somehow once you do your first bad thing, now you're like bad forever and whatever, right? I think like in the beginning, if he was like that innocent, academic, scholarly, studious young man who just loved music and loved playing music with her, I mean, I guess I can understand, like, from a small town, why she would fall for that, right? He didn't have the heavy ambitions until he got into the palace, and then it was like, oh, there can be more. I can have more. So, I mean, I don't know.
I think one thing they were trying to say is that he wanted to become a powerful person because of what happened to his family and his dad. They were wrong, right? So, but in his quest for that power of righteousness, so he can exercise righteousness, it warped everything. Still doesn't excuse of it.
I mean, what's worse was his mother and his sister. Like, they were pretty awful people too. Like, they were never apologetic.
Yes, his mom was the worst, but they were bad to begin with, and it's not like he didn't know that about them, right?
Yeah.
And here's the way I see it, right? He's Macbeth.
Sucks.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. He's Macbeth, and his mom or whoever, the princess could be Lady Macbeth. The princess is Lady Macbeth. So at the beginning of Macbeth, if you know Macbeth, she's the villain. They make her the villain because she whispers in Macbeth's ear to go kill, what's his name, right? The king. Macduff, not Macduff, whoever it is. Duncan?
I don't remember Macbeth. But...
I forget. The king. Yeah. They had to kill the king while he's staying with them so they can usurp the throne. But by the end, the guilt ate at both of them. It ate at her more, if you recall. And Lady Macbeth went mad.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he killed her. He had her killed. Do you remember this? Macbeth killed Lady Macbeth. So at the end, she was actually a victim because he became much more ruthless than her.
Oh, what an interesting contrast.
Yes.
I mean...
So I thought of Macbeth. I was just like, you're Macbeth.
Oh, interesting. Just to go into a different tangent now. Now that we've talked about the villains, for me, okay, there were a lot of
I'm not
characters.
done. There's another villain.
Oh,
Can I
oh
just
yeah,
2 seconds that I really
yes.
didn't like? My second least. It's the cousin, not the cousin, the fourth daughter, the Zhang family fourth daughter.
Oh, the one
She's
that
absolute trash.
the
Yeah,
face that got.
she's absolute trash, and
Oh
that's all
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
say.
yeah. Yes. Oh yeah,
I'm
I
actually
totally
surprised
I
she didn't
forgot
have
about
more
her.
of a comeuppance than she did.
I forgot.
Right?
Was it her parents that got taken off the family
Yes,
register?
that whole branch of the family is no good.
Yeah. Well, okay, because no, she's just an evil, cunning, coveting biatch. So
Yeah.
I agree.
So sorry,
Yeah,
I won't waste more time on her, but
no.
I just wanted to before I forgot. Yeah.
So okay, so I don't know if this is even a worthy topic, but I'll bring it up. Okay, so when I looked at the list of people, right, starring, right, the third person listed is the one that plays her scholarly cousin. What's his name? Yeah,
something, Mr.
yeah,
Yeah.
Shijie or something.
Yeah, Shijie. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cute.
He's cute, but he had no story. I don't know why he's listed. I don't know why he's third listed because I mean maybe he's more popular or well known in China. I don't know. Like I thought okay he's cute, but like he had no storyline other than to be like a helpful cousin with the money that can help her through all her troubles and and obstacles and there for her.
Yeah.
No matter what, like it's almost.
Who would you have third build though? Who would you have put as third in importance?
You know,
that ex-hubby
became no. Okay, the ex-hubby his character, even though he's a villain, it did get bigger. The role got bigger, right? As the story went on. Actually, an actor who is not even like I think on the call sheet, like he's like 12th on the call sheet, if even, is the Emperor. I feel
he's funny.
Yes.
You know what they call him in China?
No.
I just realized in Chinese it comes up as 史记史, and I was like, what is 史记史? I looked it up. It's Stitch. Lilo and
What?
Stitch.
Oh, because of the ears?
His hat with the rabbit ears. It's a Stitch ears.
Yes. Okay. So in the beginning, he looked like he would be a minor character, right? And I didn't see any character posters for him. So I was like, okay, whatever. He's gonna be in the background. But like his character, I mean, even though he's an emperor, so obviously he will have a role. I felt like there were so many funny scenes, like when he and like Duxu had to act.
Well, because they're best friends, right?
Yeah.
I like that part about their story, but it also raised some questions because they keep saying since 8 years ago, so everything is in increments of 8, right?
How old are they?
They're like, that makes them what, 20? 21? Yeah. Like, does that make sense? Because it shows the flashbacks of them, like when his parents died and stuff. I'm like, they were probably 12. You know what I mean? Like they were young kids. So how can only 8 years have passed?
Okay, so I think 8 years. No, they said the emperor had been emperor for over 10 years. That was definitely announced in the court, because Lord Cheng has been up their north territories for over 10 years. So I think the 8 years is his father died 8 years ago. So there's it's weird.
But they were still little kids in that flashback.
Obviously. But I guess like ideas like the emperor became emperor for when he was much younger. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, Duxu's father died, and then 8 years passed, and then present day. But so I really enjoy the actor who played the emperor. I thought he was actually quite cute, very expressive, big eyes, and I didn't know who he was. And I feel a little bad because I feel like even after the whole show ended, they didn't give him any character poster.
He's like a little young old man. Like he looks, like an older young man, but he's young.
Yeah, I think he's young.
Actually, there's so many surprising things. Like, I like the grandfather, the Duxu's grandfather.
Yes, I like the grandfather.
He's so cute. He brought out when they made up. I love that. Of course, I also love the fact that. Did you remember the scene where Duxu was not wearing red? He was in his underwear.
Yeah, the white.
When she went to visit. Yeah, the white thing. I was like, oh, and his hair
she acted
was all
so normal. She acted so normal. Like it's normal to see him like undressed. Like
he looks so good. But anyways, I digress. But I love how she teased them too, like because he was like trying to, like I love how she basically has absolute control over him when it comes to things that matter. Like he listens to her. He's like a little boy with her. Do you realize that? Like, he's like the most powerful or second most powerful man in the kingdom. But, you know, wifey calls and he's like, okay, fine.
I mean, she literally shows up, be like, I need a favor. And he's like, oh, what do you want now?
Yeah, that's all she does. She's like, can you just do me another favor? He's like, yeah, you're always just using me.
I like the scene when there was one scene when she's like, I realized at some point I can never pay you back. And he's like,
I'm not expecting it, you know? But I digress. So the grandfather was really cute. I love how he's like, you know, what did he say, grandson? I got your wife back. And then he took him off the horse. He took her off of horse. I love that scene where the emperor, Zhang Li's father, and the bodyguard, the three of them, like,
they're like
over there. Especially the expression on her father's face, because he's the only one I think that had
was not aware. He's like,
that was his first clue into what's going on between Xingxu and his daughter. I actually like the father much better. Like, I think they redeemed his character. Like, at the beginning, he was on like that same trajectory as ex-hubby, which is a weak-willed man who did everything badly, cowardly. And he even said that at the end, didn't he? He's kind of admitted to the fact that he knew things weren't right in the household, but he turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah, because I think after reading so many Chinese web novels, culturally, men do not pay attention to what's happening in the household.
It's the woman's purview. It's like the woman too. Yeah, the empress. It's their purview.
The women actually hold the books. Like they have the key to the money, to the land. I mean, they don't own it outright. They own some of it, but they manage the household.
It's a patriarchy, so I don't know how that works. But
so he's out there doing his his business, and then he's like hoping that the wife is doing, he trusts her version of events. So
even though he suspects something may not be all there.
Yeah.
So he redeemed himself. He stuck up for Zhang Li even very early on where it mattered. So I give him kudos for that.
Yeah. So they did, sorry, I was just gonna say, they did hint early, I felt they hinted early on he had suspicions that she was not Zhang Li, but he was like still supporting her. Right? He
knew very early on she wasn't Zhang Li, like when the princess brought it out in court.
Yeah,
in public.
I feel like even earlier than that, though. But I think that was the first time he was like, "Wait, someone is validating my."
And he was like, "I need to talk to you after," but that after never came until the very end. And I was like, "Wow, he's very patient. He waited like 20-something episodes for this to happen," But when it did come, remember, I think this was something you said last time on the double first pod we did, which is you felt nervous or sad about the people who thought she was the real Zhang Li coming back.
Yeah.
Well, how disappointing. We didn't get that disappointment, if you notice.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The dad did. So you did see that, and that was very poignant, actually. Did you see that? Like when at the very end, when she came clean, when he collapsed.
I thought he died, and then the next scene was alive. I was like, okay, he just had a moment.
It was grief.
I thought he had a heart attack. Yeah.
But it was very well done. I mean, it was very dramatic for, it could make you laugh, but I didn't laugh. I thought,
I felt sad for him.
This is the grief of a father, who realized he's done a lot of wrong. Yeah. And he's never going to see his real daughter again.
He lost 2 children. He also lost the other daughter. That whole scene, the exorcist scene with the daughter, oh my God, I almost wanted to cry, maybe because I'm a mom of a young daughter, but I was like, that scene was so painful to watch as a parent, like to know, like to hear like your child's voice coming back to tell you how they were killed. Yeah. Anyways, but that scene I really thought was I think that made him too. Like that made him more human too, because it was like he forgot this daughter existed. He's like, wait. I had this daughter that dies very tragically.
Yeah, so
they never did show the third daughter. She just kind of, her story ended.
They talk about it, right? She went away somewhere, so she's happy, which is good because in the book apparently she went blind because she was somehow captured by the princess and tortured.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, poor girl. So I think she's happier in the drama. Unlike the bodyguards and the maid.
The poor maid. Oh my God. I was texting you. I was like, I should have known our death was coming when Zhang Li's like,
I was signaling that like 50 miles away when they start when they start talking about, what are you going to do after this?
In the future. And she goes, she's like, I bought you a house and here's some money. And I'm like, oh, it's nice. I'm like, wait, I should have seen
gonna
that
die.
coming.
She's gonna
next
die.
scene, she's dead. I was like, you planned
They
too
telegraphed
soon.
that. Yeah, they telegraphed that one. The joke on the internet was that the girl who's like, what, 14 or 15 needed to go back to school.
Probably.
So,
yeah,
I
so
want to
she
talk about one. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
finish
Oh,
this
I was
and then I
gonna
want to
say
talk about.
she's another one that didn't get a character poster in this. So I felt like she got a lot of screen time along with the Emperor. So even though those two young people did not get a character poster, I felt like their screen presence came through.
You know who was also a surprising character for me? The concubine. The older concubine.
Yeah.
So you thought she was a two-dimensional.
Right?
She is, because they talked about it. She's the previous emperor's concubine.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
right.
about that. Yeah, because she's the sister of the other
the
wife,
stepmom.
The stepmom. Yeah.
And you keep thinking that maybe he just has her to keep around to use her for political reasons. And maybe that's how it started, but they never go there. At the end, what they play for is that they actually did love each other, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
And that she actually did have a heart in her own way, in that, because she's the only one who cared about her sister.
Yes.
Right?
To an extent. I don't know. She was still a little schemy, but I think
she did it when she could to help her sister. Like, she cared what happened to her sister. Remember, she made her
she did care about the sister. Yeah. And
she killed herself for no reason. I was like, dude, you could have just waited like 2 more seconds, and I'm sure Duxu would have figured something out. You didn't have to go like slice open your neck on someone else's sword. And be like, oh, don't tell him the secret. Which the Emperor knew. The Emperor knew the secret. I was like, this is what a waste.
Yeah. I mean, she was minor, and she did get more developed. I thought she was going to be another one of those, like, because in the beginning, even though they were sisters, I didn't feel sister vibes from the two actresses. But then after a few more meetings, I was like, okay, I kind of feel it. But I'm trying to remember who else. Okay, the only one that I felt was kind of weird was the poison doctor. I don't know, doctor of poison. The princess of Great Zhao, the princess.
Oh, like she's just an extraneous character? Well, she's kind of like
No, she was like, okay, first they say she's like a healer, right? Like she can heal anyone, but with poison. And then it's like, oh, but she's also a princess. Oh, but she can also lead an army into the palace and like fight with the best of the men.
She's a useful stage tool helper.
Yeah.
To move the plot along, and to also maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, she's cute though. So actually, there's like a weird Tmall series of ads they made with her and the ex-hubby. It's pretty funny. They're funny, right? He keeps trying to kill himself, and she's like, "I'll help you."
Oh, I didn't watch it. I just saw
They're funny. So people are like, "Oh, this is a weird CP," the poison princess and the ex-hubby. And the ex-hubby actor is actually really funny in real life. You watch BTS, he's actually kind of cracked me up. So,
oh really?
But in the show, he's a skis ball.
Yeah. Well, when he first appeared on camera, I think I texted. I was like, "Why does he look so plasticky? Like he gave me the heebie-jeebies, honestly." But I mean, that was also the tone, because he's a murderer. But but like after a while, I was like actually when he would smile, it was kind of creepy. I was like,
like there's something demented about his whole look, but I think it's acting choice.
It's the acting. I don't think that's
so he's actually a pretty good actor if you think about it, right? That he could make you feel that.
Yeah.
And Yujin...
Go ahead.
I was say Yujin said he selected him out of 600 candidates.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big deal. Like, he is trying to what do you call it? Showcase him.
I see. I think, as an actor, I think he did an excellent job playing this type of character. Because I think if you're too masculine, it doesn't work. If you're really too cowardly, it also doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think if there's
we've been talking
else.
For a while. What else? Okay. I mean, I guess we can maybe let's wrap it up on a light note. There's so many great moments. Like when I will watch it again on Netflix, like I said, and you said
talk about it third time.
No, I won't rewatch it end to end, in the sense that you're not gonna watch it for the plot. you're gonna watch it for the moments. Like we talked about last time. There's a lot of encounters between the main CP up to the end, and I could just watch them go at it forever. Like I would love to have the two main leads in a modern rom-com where they're at loggerheads with each other.
Yeah, I think that
wouldn't that be kind of cute? Like they have very good chemistry.
They do. Oh, so the kiss, right, or the lack of kissing.
Which one?
So okay, so there was the first like it was episode 7 or whatever, where they don't really kiss, but they're very close, right? And then when they finally
episode 7,
was this
there
7?
was the kiss.
No, the rain scene was that episode.
That's
7?
17.
Oh, 7.
That's a whole
no, I wasn't. No. It's because I watched up to 15, so it must have been like 14 or 15.
No, it was 17. Pretty
17?
sure of it.
Oh.
Anyways, doesn't matter. The rain dance.
Anyways, so there's the rain almost kiss, whatever. Then they have the actual first kiss.
He like turned her head around, like it's like nope, slap that away. I was like,
she's also drunk, so maybe he's being being respectful.
Do you think he was already interested in her at that juncture?
I think he was really interested the first time they met. But
really? I don't know about that.
I think he told what's her name, the doctor, the poison expert. He said, "I don't do romance." Right? Remember, he said that. She took that as like, "Oh, I don't do romance with anyone." And then she got upset when she found out like he liked. I love
how she's like, "You both liars."
Yeah, but she still helps them. Like she's kind of cute too.
She ended up with her brother at least.
Did she?
That was an epilogue.
Oh, you know what? I couldn't understand.
She wrote them a letter. She wrote them a letter. Here are the gifts I give you, including the aphrodisiac, blah, 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 eyeliner.
Oh.
And she's like, thank you for introducing your brother to me. And the brother, I thought it was very poignant, the scene. It was kind of funny, too. Like, people online pointed out when she kept finding her dead relatives, like, the dad did not die. Brother is not dead.
The brother did.
They're like, what about the poor girlfriend of the brother who died? Like, they're like, is she the only one who actually died? And it was. I thought it was poignant when Xue Fanfei told the brother, but not really told him.
Yes, I love that. I almost cried that scene because she didn't want to break
underneath.
his heart.
Yeah,
she didn't want to break his heart.
She said, "What? What did she say?" She said, "Oh, she married and met a very nice person.
A man, and
went very far away. She's never coming back."
Yeah.
And the brother knew. I thought maybe he didn't know because she wasn't very out in the open. But then they showed you him sitting in the room crying because he knew what that meant, that she was dead.
You think so? Or
yes,
that he was just heartbroken?
Knew. No, I think he knew that she's dead.
Yeah, because I would say the only thing that was ambiguous is like obviously he knows the sister met the girl because how else would she have gotten the map? Of the mines, the gold mines. So
I don't think you would cry like he did, the way he did in that room so silently, if you didn't know. If it was just a broken heart of, oh, she married someone else, Yeah. I think it was the way Zhang Li, it's a very Chinese way of implying bad news. This actually happened to my dad once in real life. One of his best friends, they used to call each other all the time, who lived in Hong Kong. One day, he called, and it was the friend's then wife or girlfriend who picked up and says, so-and-so's not here. He's like, where did he go? She's like, oh, he went on a very long trip.
Oh.
Yeah. I was that's a euphemistic, it's a weird way to break the news of someone's dead, right?
Yeah. Like he can't even pay his respect. Like you're not going to tell someone that
No, I think eventually that it comes out that way, but it's a very Chinese way, I think, of saying
they went somewhere far, far away.
So went on a long journey and they're never coming back. That's the way I think she was delivering that news. But I don't think she was trying to tell the brother that she's dead. The girl was dead, but in some way she was basically like, all of the clues are there, and he knew what that actually meant.
Huh.
So I felt bad.
Yeah. No, that was a sad scene because they were a very cute, like innocent couple too. That just kind of got stuck in this situation that neither saw coming.
Yeah, well, but so he can now be free to go with Poison Princess. Poison Princess is cute. She reminds me of who? Kelly Chen.
Really? Oh, she has the thick eyebrows
and the big eyes.
Yes,
she's cute.
Yes.
I did like how Xingxu went to get help from her. And her brother's like, well, you have to marry into the family. And then he's like, what's your decision? And she's like,
like I could die.
No, so she's like, oh, so you're going to change your mind. He's like, no, I'm never going to marry you. But I'll just go back. I'll just go back to Yan, like our country, and wait to die.
Yeah, he's like, well, if you'll send troops, I'll just die.
Yeah, I love how he again weaponized his love. Right? He's like,
yeah.
well, I can just go back and wait.
But I like that he doesn't play with their emotions, right?
He's very direct. He's very direct.
He's not gonna promise something he can't fulfill, or mislead you or give you false hope.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. I think. So talking about the kisses and stuff. So yeah, there was only one kiss. That was the wedding night. But like, they supposedly kissed before that. But there was a
kiss when they were planting the tree.
After they got married. I'm talking about before.
Yes, this is not a show to watch for real like CP like kissing moments.
It's not.
We're watching for the flirtation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love the confession scene. I thought that was so cute the way it was delivered, and they did the whole close-up big head thing, and the way he reveals when he says, I know you like me, but do you know that I like you? Like, I was like, oh my god, was that in the novel? Because that was done so cute. I mean, they don't show, and then they kind of go in for the kiss, but then pans away so you don't actually see it. But like, it was still very romantic, and it kind of matches to me the tone of the whole show, which is like there was like a flirtation the whole time. And now you finally see that they are both, revealing their cards on the table.
No, that was very cute, but it did make me wonder. I felt like the sequencing of that line was out of place because up till then, that episode and maybe the few episodes right before then, they had already taken it way beyond covert expression of love because he held her hand. Remember? When she got out, he held her hand. It was so funny. She's like, my hand is spasming or something. Like, can you let go or like hold it less? Like, you don't hold a woman's hand like that unless you like her. So it's not like that's why I didn't understand. Like, why did he even have to vocalize the fact that did you know I like you too?
So I think my interpretation of that was because he never outright did anything romantic, right? He never looks for her.
What are you talking about? Everything he does is really romantic in a way.
No, everything he does is out of like if he's jealous, right? Like there's so many moments where he's jealous and he like makes her like go to him, and then she always goes running, right? She'll leave whatever she's doing.
Yeah, he's the only one that she'll drop everyone. Oh, I'm busy right now. I got a banquet. Yeah. Oh, Duke Sue wants to talk to me. I'm going.
Yeah, no, she will. She'll drop everything to see him, like just to see what he's up to, what he's gonna say, right? So, but I feel like in the way it was delivered was that he's saying like, the way you're acting, you know that I know that you like me. But I think he's saying like, other than him doing things to help her get out of like little jams and out of trouble, he's never fully said like I like you, or
like treat this as a formal declaration of love.
Yeah, like to make it official, right? Like not just like I'm maybe I like you, but I'm not gonna let you know because I am performing. I have these other 10 secret missions I have to do.
Like I'm not just like a flirt who just likes to string you along.
Yeah,
he's basically showing his cards, like being very as candid as he can be, and that was nice. And I think right after that, or even before that, he became like a boy, like a lovesick boy, and it was very
cute. Like my boss, like where
yes.
As soon as you realize you like someone, then you die, you revert back to your child. The other thing is when they show the shot of them holding hands. It reminded me of Pride and Prejudice, the movie version.
Wait, in the carriage when they're holding hands?
Yeah. Like when they grabbed each other's hands. Like it's like do you remember Darcy in the movie where he like held Elizabeth's hand to like so she can get onto the carriage? You might not remember that.
No. So I did not study the movie like you did.
Okay.
I like the BBC production better. But...
I know. So people who love the film version with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden, like that's a like iconic scene because the director filmed it where you're not supposed to touch each other, but he was, and I don't know if she's supposed to be gloved, but they were not gloved. And then like he
barehanded.
Yes, they're barehanded, and then he unflexes his hand like he's going like oh my god, I just touched her kind of. And so like in the film, that's like a very iconic scene. Of like taboo touching whatever, but innocent. And so when they did the the double did their version, I was like, oh, I immediately thought
there's
back to
so
that
many
scene.
moments. I could if I had the time and I would just do their flirtation signaling cut. But I think enough people are doing those. I just go and collect them all and watch them on like repeat.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think it's a very memorable drama and unexpectedly because I don't think I would ever have picked up this drama because I didn't know any of the actors in it. It's not.
Well, I
It's not
didn't
something I would
either
have.
before. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about either of them, even though Wu Jinyan was famous from Yanxi Palace, and she has another drama coming up. So let's maybe anything else you want to talk about, because we could make this 5 hours or hopefully
Yeah, no.
not too
I
long.
think we cover all the key things that we love, and
Yeah.
I think we talk about anything we didn't love, but that's okay.
I mean, there's things. I mean, I think actually the biggest nitpick was the questionable original ending to me.
Yeah.
But then they salvaged that, so I'm happy with that. And even if they didn't salvage it, I wouldn't have been like, oh my god, this show sucked because of the ending. No, the ending would have been poignant regardless, right?
Yeah.
So I was gonna say I've definitely started watching other Wang Xingyue stuff because I really like him, and it's not like us watching like Gongjing shows after Word of Honor, because Gongjing's great and cute, but he has a much more limited range in what he can do.
Yeah.
Right.
And we tried watching his later stuff, and none of it stuck.
No, unfortunately, I think he's better in like smaller web dramas. I think he's more comfortable in them. But I definitely look forward to watching some older shows of Wang Xingyue, and he's got other stuff coming. So I'm very excited. And Chen Xingxi has other shows coming in, so I'm excited about that too. But we're not here to talk about him today. But Wu Jinyan has another show coming, I think, with Liu Xueyi. Do you know him? He's an older actor, so they're much more age matched. And he's always, I think, been considered good looking and a pretty okay actor. It's just that he's always been paired with odd leads, female leads. So I think maybe we'll see if there's sparks between him and her. Because
Is
I
it
don't
a modern?
know. No, it's a costume drama.
Oh, okay.
So I might check that out. But yeah. Okay. And
yeah, so I mean, my only final thoughts is if we go back to like the female lead, I would say one of the best parts of this drama also is how badass she was. Like despite her situation in a patriarchal society, having supposedly very limited access to funds or education, if you want to consider that, like she was such a smart person who knew how to. She could read people. I think that was her strength. And that was probably, I don't know. Like some people said, oh, like did she have a renewed like brain to be able to do this after being buried alive?
The shovel.
I don't know, like
the shovel to the head.
The shovel to the head.
We programmed her so she became like X-Men style. Like she became a mutant.
She was like, her strength was being able to assess how human nature works and
talk herself out of anything.
Yeah, and using that weakness against them, their own weaknesses, against them. So I don't know, like I think having seen some not so strong female lead characters in the last few dramas we watched, like to watch this one, it was pretty powerful, I think, because even the men in the drama like praise her, like they don't take that for granted. Like the emperor was like, if only she was a male, she could. You
realize that most of the stronger characters, villain or otherwise, are female, right? In the show.
Yes. And I don't know if that's due to the novel or the script, maybe a combination.
Like Xingxu is even, we said, there to really help her out and be the protector. He's not really until the very last arc, kind of a main lead driver of the story. And even then, she figured very much in the end. But I did notice, this is what I forgot to say earlier, that they ended the show on episode 40 with her and her look back, her face. But you notice in the epilogue, it ended with his voiceover?
I mean, I only remember them both looking at the camera. I don't
No,
remember
he
the
was the
voice.
one who narrated the end of the
Oh
epilogue.
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
says,
Oh
"We've
yeah,
been
yeah.
married
Yeah,
for 8
you're right.
years, and she's too busy,
Yes.
but she told me to tell you guys." And I thought that was interesting. I was like, did they do that on purpose? Because he's the more breakout character, I think, in the show, and so then it
Mhm.
gives you balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
because
the
I
main show
think
is about her.
yeah, the main show's about her. Yeah, she's the lead, and he definitely grew in popularity as
Right.
the
So they gave
show
him the epilogue,
progressed.
maybe spotlight, to be kind of the neat tie out fan service, right? Like people love
Yes.
Xingxu. So
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. This is my personal observation, okay? I don't mind it. His voice is lovely.
I'll go back and rewatch it.
And then you
I
can
didn't
nitpick.
dislike it. I did. I just felt it was so jarring. I was like, "What is this? Like a cheapo
There were
SNL
so
skit?"
many
You know, like
jokes, like when he's like, "Oh, aren't you gonna teach me? I want to learn too," or something like that, like in bed, like hint, hint.
oh yeah. But do you know what I'm saying when I say like a cheap SNL skit? Like when they do a variation, like you've been watching a movie and then there's like the skit version of it. That's where the epilogue looked like when I
the
was like,
show itself became skittish like that in the last
no,
10
but maybe
episodes.
yeah. I mean, like I said, it's hard coming out of like scenes of war and vengeance, and then them going like speaking in this honeyed tone, and I'm like, what is this? And then even the camera
It's called
style is very different.
happiness after everything has calmed down. It's the life
Like
after happily ever after.
I know. Like I said, even the camera style was different. So I was like, okay, this is different. So
So
all right, I think that's all we have for today.
yes. Go rewatch it on Netflix, and then start watching those other Wang Xingyue. I'm starting small with his more minor dramas, but already finished one. Cute.
Yeah.
He's very cute. Very much the opposite of Xingxu. So
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out, and then
he's so
maybe we'll
boyish.
talk
Like he's
about it.
acting his age in that show. So I'm
Oh,
like, oh yeah,
interesting.
very. You can't imagine that, can you? I mean, unless you watch
No,
his
because
BTS.
he acts like a 30-year-old guy in this one in the
Mhm.
double. So yeah, cool.
So
All right.
until
Thank you
next
so
time.
much.
All right.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.